organization are figuring out, should we do social media, should we not do social media? That's really the wrong question to be asking, because the reality is, whether you like it or not, social media is already happening to your brand. Somebody's experiencing you, they're experiencing your organization, they're tweeting about it, they're writing a blog post about it. We joked as we got up here, I took a photograph of the entire room, and I'm going to tweet it out to my over 6,000 followers on Twitter. Guess what? You're doing social media. You didn't even realize you were doing social media. And this is the sort of first step. It also goes back to the naming of my company, Silverback Social. And I'll tell you a little story about Silverback Social. It's in reference to the silverback gorilla, right? Because it's the gorilla in the room. But there was a study in the late 90s where they put individuals in front of 6 people. There were 3 people wearing white shirts, 3 people wearing black shirts. And they were told to focus as hard as they could on the 3 people wearing the white shirts, because they were going to pass a basketball to each other, and they were going to zigzag around each other. You needed to focus for 15 minutes and count how many times the people in the white shirts passed the ball to other people in the white shirts. So imagine, 3 people in white shirts, 3 people in black shirts, they're passing the balls. And go. People are focusing and they're watching, and the 15 minutes go by, and they had to answer a questionnaire. How many times did the people in the white shirts pass the ball to each other? And people would guess 10 times, 20 times. The right answer was like 16 times. The last question at the end of the questionnaire was, did you notice the gorilla? People were like, what are you talking about? They would go back and look at the tape of the actual experiment. What would happen was, while the individuals were walking amongst themselves and passing the ball, somebody dressed like a gorilla walked into the frame, pounded on their chest, and walked off stage. The members that were part of the test were like, what? How did I not see the gorilla walk past this? So I saw the test, I'm like, oh my god, this is brilliant. This is when I work with big brands, this is exactly what I'm talking about. That brands and individuals, when engaging in social media, have almost become blind to their own blindness. You're looking in the wrong place. You're looking for the basketball passes because, gee, it's part of our email program, or how much are we going to spend on banner ads, and how are we going to buy a billboard, we're going to do this. That's not the conversation that social media should be entailed. It should be an organization-wide conversation. You should have everybody in the organization aware of and educated and trained about social media. They should have a great LinkedIn profile so that everybody, all boats rise for the organization. Hence the name Silverback Social. The other story, and then I'll hand off, I apologize. I get excited about this stuff. The other story is in regard to why social media is changing all these different things. And it goes back, this is not a good way to lead in a short story. It goes back 500 years. About 500 years ago, there was a revolutionary invention. It was called the printing press, right? And I kind of poached this stuff from a gentleman by the name of Clay Shirky. Clay Shirky's TED Talk. You guys want to write something down? Follow Clay Shirky in his TED Talk. But Clay Shirky talks about why social media is so powerful. 500 years ago, the printing press was invented, and this is revolutionary. People can communicate ideas one to many. Absolute revelation. But then over the course of time, there are other communication and media inventions. There's the radio, there's television, there's movies, and all these different inventions start to change. Telephone, we can have a one-to-one conversation, and that's really exciting. One person across the other end of the world, you can have a phone conversation. Oh my gosh, that's revolutionary. Then the radio, then the television, people now gather around the media, and they can absorb the media together, and then they can have a conversation about the media. Oh, did you hear this radio show? The Lone Ranger on the radio show, that was really exciting. And there's a cultural phenomenon happening there. As things change, all of a sudden we see something in the late 90s called the internet. And whoopsie, everything changes. Because now the internet, the interconnectivity of the internet, and the individuals that are interacting with the internet, there's a visualization of it. And if you look at it, it almost looks like a cell when you're looking at it under a microscope. We're all connected through the internet. But the change over the past 500 years is that all of those inventions, the printing press, television, radio, movies, all of this stuff, now all of a sudden flips and resides within the internet. So then what happens is, printing press doesn't have to be a newspaper. You can be a printing press, because you can have a blog, and you can create that content. And then the television show doesn't have to be a television station. It could be me, sitting in front of a webcam, and now I have a YouTube channel. Guess what? I'm a television station. And a radio show doesn't have to be broadcast from WNBC, broadcasting the Lone Ranger. It could be somebody with a podcast. And now you have control. And this is the flipping, the rolling in of all of this media happens within the internet. And that in and of itself is social media, and that's why it's so powerful. I hate to get so overarching and philosophical about it, but it's very, very, very important, especially within the nonprofit sector, because when you're engaging individuals, potential fundraisers, and you're trying to tap into emotion, you're trying to have evocative content, you need to understand the way this medium works before you can really start to generate the great